Here we are, number 32, Tyler, Abuelo, and the Nieto looking at Miami sports. Uh, we're going to talk about the Miami Heat. Of course, the Marlins, they have started surprisingly pretty well this season. Also, recognizing a star Hispanic athlete, a segment that we started recently. We're looking at a women's basketball player which had an outstanding career in college and then went to the WNBA. And first of all, we always associate our podcast with a number, Tyler. This is number 32. And who can forget number 32 for the Kings? Chuck Foreman. And of course, a star in the NFL with the Vikings, played most of his career with the Vikings, except for the last season that he played for the Patriots. And he played with the Hurricanes from 69 to 72. Surprising, he plays on defense initially, and then he went to offense. He was a star running back, a great runner, but also great pass catcher coming out of the backfield. 5,150 yards with 53 touchdowns in the NFL and 350 catches with 23 receiving touchdowns. Chuck Foreman. But you have another number 32.
Yeah,
And
I
he's a
usually
great
give
one.
you the top guy, but you told me that Chuck Foreman was one of your favorite players. You know, when you were a much younger man back in the day. So let you take that, and I will take arguably, no, not arguably, for sure the best 32 in Miami sports history, Shaq. He actually wore 32 in Miami and in Orlando when he was with the Lakers. He wore 34, but obviously, brought Miami their first championship in '06. Definitely wasn't. Didn't go out on the best of terms for sure, but that banner will always be up. Had a pretty great 1-2 game relationship with Dwayne Wade. While they were both at their peak at that point of time, and kind of somebody who also he still has a home in Miami, still comes back as someone involved in the community. I think he's an honorary cop for the city of Doral. So yeah, definitely part of the Miami community. Shaq. So number 32.
Now, the Heat, Tyler, last few games of the season, they're fighting to get into the play-in. Well, they're going to be in the play-in for sure. The question is whether they're going to be number 9, number 10. Right now, they're number 10 after getting beat by the Bulls in Chicago this week. So most likely number 10, a possibility at number 9. I already said that the best thing that could happen is that they don't make the playoffs and they have 2 number 1 picks coming up in the draft. That would be the best option from my perspective. But more importantly, looking at next season, Tyler, who's a keeper, who's a gunner, who should stay, who should go for the Heat. Definitely, I think that you want to keep Hero, you want to keep Adebayo. I believe that you want to keep Haywood Highsmith, especially, he's got another year in his contract. He's not paying him that much. And he's a very valuable defensive player, a good 3-point shooter. Jovic showed that he stepped up this season, even though he got hurt a few weeks back. He's got good size, is still very young. And Mitchell, David Mitchell did a good job, I think, as a point guard. And offensively, he got going in the last few games of the season, and he was an important part of this team. And then you get into the situations of who should not maybe be back. I think Wiggins, yes, he's averaged about 19 points per game, but he missed quite a few games. And even the games that he has started, Miami has lost most of those games. So that's something that you have to look at. The kind of money that he's getting, whether you want to keep spending that money on that type of a player. Yes, he is productive, but you don't really win that much with him, at least at this time. So he might be a gunner, and basically everybody else, I think, is, there is a question whether they should be back. We're talking Robinson, we're talking the other point guard, Rozier, even Hackes Jr., his production went down this year. So I think that if you have to make a move, you have to make decisions. All those, the rest of those guys are people that you have to consider that might not be back. The question with keeping Hero and Adebayo, we said it and you said it, I believe, recently, is that if you're going to make a major move, let's say for a Kevin Durant, someone of that level, at least one of those two guys are going to have to be involved if it's going to be a trade, because they're not going to give away Durant for free. You're gonna have to give up something of value, and that means that Adebayo or Hero might have to go. I don't know how you see that situation, but that's how I see it, Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, you said it there at the end. I think any team would want to keep their best players. I guess that's common sense, but you're going to have to accept that this team with those best players, with those guys as their best players, is not going to be successful ultimately. So unless a pot of money appears for free agency where they can go after somebody or find some type of person who's willing to commit to come here for less money than usual, they're going to have to trade one of these guys. This isn't a team that has two or three top guys and they might have a number one draft pick sitting on the bench, or a guy like back when the Thunder had James Harden sitting on their bench and you can afford to get rid of him. This is a completely different story. It's a very steep drop off once you get past these two guys. Who's going to want? No offense, are we going to really trade Nikola Jovic for Kevin Durant? That's just not going to happen. So they're going to have to accept that one of these guys is going to have to go. And I think you keep the defensive centerpiece, the defensive player of the year candidate, perennial defensive player of the year candidate. And it might have to be time you part ways with Hero by now.
Tyler, we like to support our Hispanic athletes. Sometimes they don't get the recognition maybe that they should. We're focusing more on people that may surprise you. They have those Hispanic roots that maybe some people do not know that they have those Hispanic roots. And recognizing Hispanic star athletes, we're doing a women's basketball player this time around. We're referring to Rebecca Lobo. Rebecca Lobo was a star for Connecticut. In Connecticut, we know the history of the school, how successful they have been in basketball and women's basketball. And Rebecca started in the NBA, in the WNBA from 97 to 2003. 6'4", 6'4" center. She was born in Hartford, Connecticut. Her father of Cuban descent, her mother of German and Irish heritage, played at the University of Connecticut from 91 to 95, two-time All-American, won the 1995 national championship with Connecticut with a 35-0 record, undefeated, was named National Player of the Year, Olympic gold medalist for U.S. in 1996, started her career in the WNBA with the New York Liberty in 97, member of the Basketball Hall of Fame, a tremendous player, Rebecca Lobo. So now we get into the Marlins, Tyler, and they started the season at 500, and they have played above expectations up to now. And a player in particular that has done a good job, and if they need him, and if he keeps that up, the pitching, which is the strength of the club, is going to be even better. And I'm referring to Max Meyer, the right-hander, 26-year-old. He's 1-1, and he's got a 2.00 ERA. Beat the Mets in his last outing, 5-0, 6 innings and one-third. Allowed only 2 hits, no runs, and he's pitching at a high level, 19 strikeouts already uh, in 3 starts. So it's early, but if you put together Mayer with Alcantara, Eury Perez coming back late June, early July, and then you have, uh, of course, Ryan Weathers, the lefty, which is very talented. He's hurt now, but he should be back soon. You're talking about four starting pitchers with that could give you one of the top uh, rotations in the National League if they're all going the right way. So that is going to make the team better. I think it's going to be a little more competitive, and an opportunity definitely to have a better season that they had last year. We cannot expect this thing going into the playoffs. No, definitely not, especially with the Eastern Division being so competitive, having the Mets, the Phillies, and the Braves there. But I believe that the team can improve compared to last season, and that will be something important for the club that is trying to develop. A small college athlete, Tyler. You always have something interesting for us. So, what is the surprise this week?
Yeah, this one is actually, you said it right there, a surprise, because I'll say Will Richard from Florida. Florida is not a small school by any stretch of the imagination, but he came to Florida from Belmont University. I had never heard of that school, and I love small schools. Everybody that knows me knows that. Played at two of them. That's all I talk about. But this guy was the reason Florida won that championship game. Clayton, another small school guy, came from Iona. Clayton was off pretty much until the fourth quarter. He still finished with 11 points, 3 for 10. And it was Will Richard who got Florida going. He finished with 18 points, 4 for 5 from 3 point range, and is probably the best, or arguably one of the best 3 point shooters in the program's history. Obviously, you still got guys like Mike Miller, Chandler Parsons, but he's up there. He has the most 3 pointers made from a transfer in program history. And like we said, if there was an MVP for the actual game itself, not just the tournament, he would have been the MVP of that championship game. Played his tail off, and I think he'll have a spot as a role player in the NBA now.
Tyler, which South Florida players can the Dolphins select in the draft? And they had quite a few of them this week. Training camp in Miami Gardens, looking at them, interviewing some of them. Oh, most basically all of them. And of course, when we talk South Florida, we talk FAU, FIU, and of course also the Canes and also players that play high school here. And they have mentioned Mason Taylor, one of the sons of Jason Taylor, as one of the top guys that they had. He came in early. Some of the guys came like a day later. He came in earlier. He's a tight end, caught over 50 passes for LSU last season. But, the need of the team right now is offensive line, defensive line, corner, and safety. And this is a guy that might go in the second day, second round, third round. So I don't see him there. Arroyo, the tight end for the Canes, the same. A guy that might not be there when Miami could consider a tight end. So that's going to be hard. I think that some of the receivers for UM, that is a possibility. George and Brown. George is a speedster. He can go deep on you, and he's talented. And Martinez is a possibility, the running back, as a late round pick. And I see also Jalen Rivers. He can play guard. He can play center for you. He's not a first day guy, but maybe in the fourth, fifth, sixth round, it depends how they value him. That is also a possibility to give you depth at that offensive line position. And there's an interesting guy, Tyler. I don't know if you know him. Nate Noel, the running back, played at Missouri and Appalachian State, close to 4,000 yards rushing at the college level. And he played at Miami Northwestern. So that is also a possibility if he's available in a later round, giving depth at the running back position.
Nate Noel gave me a pretty hard time my junior year of high school when we played against them.
So you remember him, huh?
Yes. So a couple other guys I'll rattle off. Xavier Restrepo, he ran that 40 at the pro day. First of all, when have you ever seen a slot receiver sprint 40 yards at once? Unless there's blown coverage, that's not going to happen. That's just the most useless. I understand that he has to go run the 40, but for his draft stock to suddenly drop several rounds because of that, I could have told you the guy was going to run a 4.8 just by watching him run routes. And I think he's going to be a very good NFL player. But my point is that just simply does not matter. This guy plays with spatial awareness. He if there's an offense that allows him to unlocks his potential, like I said, where he finds these soft spots, he processes defenses while moving at full speed. So he may run a 4.8, but he doesn't have to slow down from that 4.8 to run his routes, where there's other receivers that might be running 4.3s and 4.4s, but they can't stop and change directions the way this guy can. And they need to slow down probably to a 5.2, 5.3 because they're not as talented as a route runner this guy is. He doesn't need to change his speeds at all. He's very fluid. He gets in and out of his breaks perfectly. And I think for a team that's looking for a number 3 receiver, you just got lucky. This guy's now all of a sudden going to be a 4th round pick instead of a 2nd round pick. So you
the
might
question, Tyler, for the Dolphins, If he's available in the fourth, maybe even fifth. You
I
never
wouldn't
know.
hesitate. I wouldn't
That's it's a
hesitate.
guy that you really should consider seriously, right?
Of course, that's somebody who, like, I mean, just besides from the local factor, grew up in South Florida, played at the University of Miami. There's definitely going to rally some type of fan base around that. People love this kid. But just besides that, I mean, he's the program's all-time leading receiver, for Christ's sakes. I mean, he's a very productive player, and you see that. You can tell just off his tape that he was playing against ACC Big 12 competition all year and performing. So I don't see a 40 time being a deciding factor in that. Another person who is a big question mark, and I do think this is a rightful question mark, is Shamar Stewart, a former teammate of mine at Pace High School. He was you see him projected anywhere from the top 5 to late first round just because of the variability that comes with him. He's 6'6", 250 pounds. He was the number one high school recruit in the United States of America coming out of Pace. Went to Texas A&M, only had 1.5 sacks last year. So it's very interesting. But with that being said, he also had the highest NFL draft combine score out of any player ever. So basically saying he has the most impressive athleticism in terms of testing out of anybody that's ever gone to the combine. So that's why teams are so high on him, but the production is not there. In my opinion, just from evaluating his film and having played with him, I don't think his abilities are as an edge rusher, as I don't see him as like a Micah Parsons, type of guy like that who's standing up, coming off the edge like that. I want his hand in the ground, playing defensive end, kind of like Bradley Chubb or Myles Garrett, someone like that who's really there to clog run stuff instead of relying on him for more athleticism. I think that's why he wasn't getting to the quarterback. But if Miami can get him late first round, I think that's somebody who's that's the position they really need right now. You have the edge guys, you have Phillips, you have Chubb. I would put somebody at the 3 technique.
All right, interesting. Miami sports trivia, Tyler. You want to start this time around? So you beat me up early, and then maybe I can try to make you look good like you do every week.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, you go. There you go. Be easy on me, please.
Whose record did Xavier Restrepo break for Miami's receiving record?
Miami receiving record. Did he break Michael Irving's?
Correct.
All right. I finally it took me like what 8 or 9 weeks to get one correct. He
Well,
broke Michael Irving's record. Exactly. There
so
we
the
go.
Michael Irvin had the touchdown record, but there's a yards record for extra points. Who had the yards record?
The yardage record.
This
Uh, Tyler, I already got one right. Now you keep asking me questions. You keep asking me
Santana
questions. You go
Moss.
ahead. You go ahead. I don't want to. I don't want to miss it again.
Santana Moss.
Santana. Okay. You see, I would forget his name and I would tell you, oh, the short guy. That's the way I would recognize him. The short, speedy guy. There we go. Now, my question, Tyler. This is the question. What is the Miami Dolphins record in Super Bowls? What is the record in Super Bowls for the Miami Dolphins?
2-2.
No. I'll give you a second chance. You're very close.
2-3.
2-3. 2-3. 2 wins and 3 losses. That's the record of the Dolphins in Super Bowls. They won in 72 and 73. All right. They beat Washington in 72, the perfect season. In 73, they beat Minnesota 24-7. But they lost in the 1971
We
season. Of
won.
course, that's played in 72, in January of 72. But the 71 season, they lost to Dallas. That's the first year that Chula took on there. And they lost to Dallas 24-3. Then the next 2 years, they were in Super Bowl, 72 and 73, and they won the title in both years. And then back in 82, some people forget the 82 season. They played the Super Bowl in 83, January of 83. They played Washington and they got beat
Wow.
27-7, okay, versus Washington. And then the 1984 season played in January of 85. I was there, Palo Alto, California. You remember the game, the
Yeah, I was
49ers
there.
got us really bad 38-16 with Joe Montana and company. Marino tried, but no cigar. So that's the history of the Dolphins in Super Bowls: 2 wins and 3 losses, but the only perfect season in the history of the NFL. We have done it again, Tyler. Number 32, Abuelo and the Nieto. Follow us in YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. So it's important for you guys to follow us. And we'll be back next week.